Hi, folks. I wanted to read you a quote that came to my mind just recently by Timothy Leary. He says, "Admit it, you aren't like them. You're not even close. You may occasionally dress yourself up as one of them, watch the same mindless television shows as they do, maybe even eat the same fast food sometimes. But it seems that the more you try to fit in, the more you feel like an outsider, watching the normal people as they go about their automatic existence. For every time you say club passwords like 'have a nice day' and 'weather's awful today, eh?' you yearn inside to say forbidden things like 'tell me something that makes you cry' or 'what do you think deja vu is for?' Face it, you even want to talk to that girl in the elevator. But what if that girl in the elevator and the balding man who walks past your cubicle at work are thinking the same thing? Who knows what you might learn from taking a chance on conversations with a stranger? Everyone carries a piece of the puzzle. Nobody comes into your life by mere coincidence. Trust your instincts. Do the unexpected. Find the others. And what I like about that is that, you're not even like them. You're not even close. I really like that part. And that has helped me understand who I am in so many valuable ways. And it's helped me make sense of my story, my uniqueness, myself. And the more I own who I am and what I'm about, whatever that means, the more I feel empowered, the more I feel I know myself, and the more I honor as well my truth, my passion, okay, my thinking, my thoughts, my choices, my choices that the choices that I've made in my life, etc. Because when you feel like you don't fit in, and you feel like you can't find your place in it all, and you feel like you can't play the game, and you feel like you can't have the conversations that most people are having, when you feel that you can't do the same kind of jobs, you can't do the same kind of lifestyles, you can't watch the same movies, you can't eat the same foods, you can't often listen to the same music, you can't dress the way that they do, right? You feel like inherently that you don't belong, and you feel like an outcast, right? And you feel there is something inherently deeply wrong with you. Sometimes you feel like you're just too sensitive, Like I've been in relationships with ladies, with my girlfriends, where I felt like I'm being too sensitive and I'm caring too much and I'm being overly nice or accommodating and compromising. And maybe so, but I think it's just human nature. I just think it's like, for example, I've cared about my girlfriend's health and she's been indifferent to her health, and I felt like, or maybe I'm just trying to make her more like me. Maybe I'm so alone and feeling like myself, and maybe I shouldn't be so worried about her health, or worried about her well-being, because she doesn't seem to be. And so my worrying about it maybe almost makes me feel like I'm a bit neurotic, I'm a little bit too serious, I'm paranoid, or just say neurotic or something like that, or I care too much. I care too much. It's like, and I feel like I'm interfering. And I'm just giving health as an example, And so that's one example. And also, you find like you have these far out ideas about life, about our existence here, about our meaning, about what happens when we die, whatever it is, the existential realms, the ethereal realms, the magical realms, the mysterious realms, the inner landscapes, the psyche, the ego, subconscious, unconscious, right? Whatever it might be. You delve in these realms and you have ideas and you have experiences with synchronicities and deja vu and whatever it might be, and dreams. You have intense dreams, meaningful dreams. And when you relay these to people, your average folk, they look at you with a bit of stink eye, or they look at you with a bit of distance between the two of you. When you speak about honoring thyself, you talk about holistic well-being and health, you talk about healing the traumas, we talk about unconditioning yourself, we talk about finding the truth, finding your balance, finding your center, finding who you are, and they look at you like you're bizarre. And when you are sensitive because you're around people and you're feeling like they're nasty to each other, not just to you, but you observe it, or they're very hard on their children, or they're very unloving or unkind or unsympathetic or not understanding their children, right? And you can pick up the sensitivity of the child, you can pick up the sensitivity of the emotions of the child, the need of the child. And the parent seems to be completely absent from that, unaware, detached, disassociated, right? When you see the parent who's pressurizing the child to be a success in school, in sports, wherever it might be, with ladies, with fashion, and you see that and you realize, how the parent is trying to imprint themselves on the child, how the parent is taking away the freedom of choice of the child. When you see things like school inhibiting the growth of a child, when you see religions that can often inhibit the free nature of a child or just anybody, you see that which enslaves, you see that which deceives, that which dishonors, and you kind of point it out to people, you feel deeply about it, and they don't see anything of what you're talking about. They don't see what you're talking about. They haven't got a clue. Your need to be out in nature, your need for stillness, for peace, right? For tranquility, your need for honesty, your need for fresh foods, your need for exercise, your need for poetry, for music, for romance, for imagination, for spiritual journeys, for dark nights of the soul. Those needs and those requirements that you need and you talk about, and and people look at you bizarre. They say, what's going on with you? Right? What's going on with you? Or when you remind people of what you mean to them, what they mean to you in your life, and how grateful you are for them, and a lot of the time they can't even own that, because they don't seem to have a sense of self, or they don't seem to have a sense of knowing. When you try and love somebody for who they are, on a spiritual level, on a soul level, and they look at you like they don't understand why you are being so open or sensitive or something or other. When you look at them in such high esteem, you know their potential, you know their capabilities, and they don't like that, and you're trying to inspire them, try and influence them in a positive way, you try and motivate them, empower them, and they look at you like, get off my back, get away from me, you freak, you're making me feel uncomfortable. When you're trying to bring others into the present with you, and they look at you and it makes them uncomfortable. When you point out a movie that touched you, something deeply touched you, or just maybe you saw something, you were walking. For myself, the other day I was walking on the beach, and I saw I don't know what the word is. It's massive birds here in South Africa. they're not called hardy dogs. There's another word for them. The hardy dogs, that's the noise that they make. I mean, they're almost the size of a chicken, and yet they can fly. And when I was walking on the beach the other day, I saw one, and what appeared to happen was that the gut from the fishing gut was wrapped around its legs, and I was not able to walk very much at all. It maybe just like, move it could barely walk. And it was really wrapped, tightly around the legs. And I thought, what can I do to help? How can I assist? And I watched it and I stared at it and I was so concerned. And when I went and I told other people about it, they actually thought it was funny. Bad luck. And I was so heartbroken about it. I was so like, can't you feel the pain? Can't you imagine what it must be like for that bird? I mean, it seemed like it was able to fly, because as I approached it, I wasn't be able to do anything, but it took flight. But when I relayed that story, it was, my reaction for the one person that I had was just like, kind of thought it was funny, and I thought, So those kind of things, when you feel you see something, you're touched by something beautiful, something sadden, it makes you sad, and you try and share it with somebody, and they feel like it's no big deal. Why are you going on about it? Why don't you leave it alone? A friend betrays you, lets you down, you share it with somebody. But you also feel guilty for having these feelings that you have yourself. You feel shameful, for being sensitive. You feel shameful for being honest. And then somebody who's a narcissist takes advantage of you. Then you feel bad that you weren't assertive enough. You weren't narcissistic enough for them, You didn't bully them back. You didn't lie to them. Like some people, when they're lying to you, and you know that you can get away with something if you lie, and you choose not to lie, then they get a heads up on you. Because they're lying something or other, and you don't want to lie. You don't want to tell a lie, and so they win. At the end of the day, I can't think of any circumstances, but I'm sure you know what I mean. So when you feel that you have so much to offer people, so much to teach them, so much for them to learn from you, because you have been growing, you have been on a far-out journey, you have been transforming, you have been developing, you have been progressing, you have been getting closer to your light, the light, to truth, and you want to share that. And you want to assist where you can, because, you have a gift. You are blessed to understand things like consciousness to a certain degree, the spiritual realms to some degree, the purpose of life, the meaning, and you want people to, you want to provide others with that. And for them, they don't understand what you're talking about. Not only that, but they think a lot. I feel sometimes with people, it's the biggest waste of time. You would think that people would seek your counsel, seek your advice, seek your empathy, and yet they don't. That's what I have found. So I look at myself and I say, am I wasting my time in my own being? Because for myself, this seems so crucial. This work seems so paramount, so significant. In fact, one of the only reasons probably why life exists in the first place is to know thyself, right? And yet, you can feel at times it's in vain, it's for nothing. You feel like, well, I'm not getting any richer, I'm not getting any more popular, and so on and so forth. I'm not becoming more of a business-minded person. I'm not becoming more of a sales person. I'm not developing in that way. And so what am I doing here? Why bother writing a journal? Why bother taking stock of my life? Why bother appreciating my uniqueness? Why bother at all? Because it doesn't have a price on it. You can't make money, like I say, it doesn't make it, and that is, it can't buy you anything physically, and that's what this world seems to be about. That's the way that it's geared. That's the way that it's engineered. And so like I've felt, and I've said this before, haven't you said it for a while, but like I used to feel, and sometimes I do, like a plumber in the desert. You got no job. There's nothing for you to do. Your expertise is not needed. There's nothing for you to do. And not only that, but you've been studying plumbing your whole life. You've been passionate about it. You've learned everything that you've needed to know about it. But yet, there's nothing you can do with it. Because we live in an inverted world. We live in a world where spirituality and spiritual growth and all truth and authenticity and knowing thyself doesn't exist. It is the desert itself. It is the desert. And if I can own this and say that that is the desert, that this is my experience of it, even though I stand alone in my opinion of it, in my understanding of it, sometimes I can even look and say that this is a dimension of hell. And I know that most people will say, look, you're depressed, you're despaired, you've given up hope, you're in darkness. And I have to say, no, I don't agree with you. My eyes are open. I see duality. I see that there's hell and I see that there's heaven, if you will. I see that there's good and I see that there's evil. That's what I see. See? That's what supposedly God told, Adam and Eve not to eat from the tree of knowledge, so you would not know good and evil. So most people don't really know what good is anymore. I truly feel that they feel it's some kind of abstract idea, like a unicorn or something like that, or the Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot or something like that. Not even that much. It's something that's more abstract. It's more like the color Vanga. The color Vanga, So it's not orange and it's not purple and it's not blue. It's in between, It's a mix of colors. It's So it's a color and but it's abstract. It's like, okay, I can kind of imagine what you're saying, but it's even more than that. Goodness, I find, has become such an abstract idea that if you told somebody like, oh, he's a good guy. Like, I know people in my life, I told them, oh, this person's a good guy. They just see it as kind of like he's wearing a little label, with his name on it saying Mr. Good. Like, they don't really know what a good person is. They don't really know what a rare thing a good person is anymore. Like a truly good individual, a truly inspired, they don't really understand what that is. It's like, well, I don't know what that is. It's hard to explain because that's how far removed we've become. We've become so far removed. Well, we can understand goodness as somebody who maybe gives charity, somebody who recycles, somebody who's almost also just smiles at people and whatever it is. But we don't understand what goodness is in that person is somebody who's trustworthy, who's consistent in themselves, right? That's well-rounded. That's not out to hurt other people, that thinks about other people before they speak and before they act. And they treat people how they want to be treated. So, okay, now we're getting more into it. Now they can maybe understand, but really I feel it's like, a good person What does that mean? A bad person? It's like the idea of God nowadays. Even to religious people, well, what does God mean? Well, God's, he's a guy in the clouds. I mean, he's a man. He's up there somewhere. This is the idea that they have. And they have a relationship with God, so to speak, because they pray a certain way, they eat certain foods, they say certain things at certain times of the day, whatever it might be. But they don't know. But if you tell them the devil, well, that firstly, gets people's interest. And I know this sounds bizarre, abstract and whatever it is, but so what I'm finding is that it doesn't pay to be a good person in this world, that the good guy or good woman or good soul has become irrelevant. I really feel it, because it doesn't matter if you're a good person, like when you go for a job, in a way, interview. It matters on your qualifications. Often of the time it matters on how manipulative you can be. How much of a team player you can be and adjust well to the company and conform to the company's ethos or whatever it might be, right? Like when you go to school, they just want you to be a good student. What does it mean to be a good student? To do your homework, come to school on time, don't fall asleep in class, don't cheat on your tests or something like that. And that qualifies you as a good person. You're a good listener, you listen to what the teacher says, right? You don't influence the other children. That is a good student. You see, so it doesn't matter to say, well, that child is a good person, is a good child, or a good teenager. So, well, what difference does that make at university? Yes, and now but we're looking only from an academic angle. I understand that. But what I'm saying is the world is how we see upon one another is from a materialistic angle, right? From how much of a mover and shaker are you? How much, money do you have? How did you get the money? But I'm saying, what are the tactics? What does it mean, rich dad, poor dad? What does it mean to make a lot of money? What does it mean to get far in life? And we know that the only way to really get far in this life is to be manipulative most of the time and not to be caring. Like the Fortune 500 companies, see what value they're really bringing to the world. Most are not. Most people who got to be CEOs of very, very, big companies are not nice people. Even if it's medical aid, even if it's pharmaceutical, even if it's solar, even if it's insurance or something or other. Whatever industry, most of the people have gotten to where they are by bulldozing other people, by being deceptive, by being manipulative, by being inauthentic, right? And that's what we see. We don't see, in regards to singers, or let's just say we understand the good girl gone bad. Otherwise we don't understand somebody who stands up on stage and sings, who doesn't swear, who doesn't sing perverse songs, that we wouldn't understand what this person is doing. It sounds nice, but we can't relate. Something meaningful. If you have to stand up and have, Jay-Z or Lil Wayne or Drake talk about philosophy, spirituality, how to be a good son, how to be a good father, people would be like, what's the shit? I don't think they even understand it. They wouldn't even listen to it. What they want to hear about is hoes, bros, dollar bills, and that's about it, and how to be a hustler. That's what they can identify with. Doesn't matter if Drake is a good guy or not. We don't care. People don't care. And so we see that people in the positions of power, people in the positions of influence, are not able to get to where they are by being heartfelt individuals. You don't get to be presidents by being empathic and sensitive. That's not how you're going to get there. And so we understand and appreciate more of the Jordan Belfords, you know, those kind of people. We are more interested in the serial killers, if you will. I mean, how many movies have been portrayed on serial killers? Okay, the Ted Bundys, the son of Sam, what's his name? All the others, you know, the he wasn't actually a serial killer, but what is his name? Mason, I don't know, whatever it is, you know, whatever. That's what we are interested in. That's what gets us going. So when you come and talk about goodness, right? When you talk about virtues, people will be like, geez, bruh, dude, I don't understand what you're talking about here. You know, when a woman, well, in South Africa, I know, in South African culture, it's like, you know, a woman brings the son to meet the parents. It's like, well, what do you do, boy? How much money do you make? What kind of car do you drive? You know, it's can you support my daughter in all her needs and desires? Like, are you able to do that? A lot of the time, you know, that's what it's based on. You know, not all the time, but a lot of the time, and we don't realize it. And not only that, but it's like, you know, it's based on the looks of the person. You know, like, are we whatever it is, similar looking? I mean, that's how it works. You know, good looking people land up with good looking people, marry each other. You know, not so good looking people marry not so good looking people, type of thing. And because, I mean, maybe that's something else, but again, a lot of it is about status, right? A lot of it is about, you know, in being in the same league. Like, I mean, it's got to be in the same league regards to money, finance, looks, social, and whatever it is, but not about like the heart, the spirit, the goodness of the person. You know, how well do they know themselves? How much are they working on themselves? How much do they think for themselves? You know, how much are they in control of themselves? Like, that's not up for discussion. That's not necessary. That's not warranted. You know, it's, how good are you as a brown noser to become the son-in-law? You know, often of the time, you know, brown nose, flattery, and things like that. Whatever it is. So, but obviously we don't want to point out each other's self-denial, right? Self-neglect, self-abandonment, right? We don't want to hint on those things to one another, nobody will do it because nobody even is aware of it. No one's even aware of it. But even if you started bringing it up for yourself and start looking at yourself, then other people are going to have, you know, feel uncomfortable with what you're doing. So that's what I'm saying. Even by taking this road, the noble road, right? The conscious road, the enlightened road, or whatever, you know, the evolving road, the progress, the work, you know, this journey. As soon as you start doing it, becoming a better person, because I believe a good person is a godly person. And I think that's what godliness is becoming a good person. I think that's what goodness is, becoming, you know. And that's what I think it is. You know, a person that's evil in a way is live, evil backwards is live. So somebody who's not really living, you know, they're living backwards, you see. And so they're moving backwards, they're moving further away from good, from godliness. What was I saying? Oh, so when one takes the road and they start looking at themselves seriously, taking themselves seriously, start owning their choices, their actions, you know, inviting in the sensitivity, their compassion, their open-heartedness, their fairness, their truth, getting more in touch with that, their goodness, right, their godliness. The less popular you're going to be, the less people are going to feel comfortable around you, the less people are going to honor what you are doing. Of course they're going to, because you're making them feel uncomfortable. You're trying to be responsible with your life. You're trying to be responsible with your time. You're trying to be responsible with your diet. You're trying to be responsible with your choices, you know. And other people don't want to be responsible. They don't want to take responsibility. They want to be guarded. They want to be, you know, aimless. They want to be told what to do. They want to be irresponsible. They want to live for pleasure. They want to live for comfort. They don't want to be responsible. And so when you start being responsible, it makes you but then you start feeling your own self-doubt, right? Because you think to yourself, well, surely the more good I become, the more I'm going to be appreciated by others. The more godly I'm going to become, the more others are going to see my light, and they're going to step in the same direction, not my direction, but direction for themselves towards the light, towards godliness, right? Because this is what I'm doing. So not only will they see that, but will they appreciate me for who I am as a godly person, of how far I've come, of how much I'm connected, of how integrated I am, how well-rounded I am, how trustworthy I am, how consistent I am, how loyal I am, how empowered I am, you know, how wise I am, how knowledgeable I am, how experienced I am. And you hope, but sadly, they not only see that as goodness, they see it as a threat. It makes them uncomfortable. So it's a hard pill to swallow. You think to yourself, this can't be, this is absolutely backwards. This is evil, and, you know, live backwards. It's like, this doesn't make sense. I didn't expect this. This can't be the way. You know, I want to wake up from the Matrix. I want to wake up from the Truman Show. I want to leave Plato's cave. I want to know what it's like to feel, to really deeply feel, to deeply experience life. I want to know what it's like to be responsible for myself. I want to know about my shadow. I want to know about my shortcomings. I want to know about my fears. I want to know about my pain. I want to know about my despair. I want to know about my agonies. I want to know about my joys. I want to know about my potential. I want to know what holds me back. I want to know what drives me, what motivates me. I want to know what connects me. I want to know what love is. I want to make the most of my life. You would think that's a good thing. You would think that's a good thing, but people say it's not a good thing. What are you doing? And so for myself, that creates, for anybody who takes this journey, creates incredible self-doubt. Incredible self-doubt. You know, along the way, you're like, I can't believe this to be true. I can't be confident enough to know that what I'm a part of is really the right road, that I'm in the right direction, right? Do you know what I mean? It requires such confidence and such conviction, and so like, I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth, and I know how I serve in truth. That's from Paul Selig, you know. I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth, and I know how I serve in truth. I am free, I am free, I am free. So to be able to connect with that, to be able to connect not just with your sensitivity, but your spirituality, to connect with your empathy, to connect with your, you know, like I'm saying, your sixth sense, your intuition, to trust that you can feel people's auras, energies, you know, things where it gets supernatural, things where it gets ethereal, things where it gets woo-woo and whatever it is, and you realize, hold on a minute, I can tap into these things. I'm capable of these things. I can lucid dream. I can astral travel. You know, whatever it is. I can heal from afar. I mean, other people and, you know, all these things. And you realize, wow, this is what I'm capable of. I can feel when food hasn't got love in it. I can feel just by looking at an animal's eyes that it's been abused. It's been traumatized, right? I can feel when a flower has no water even before there is no signs of it. Whatever it is, I can call birds to come and sit, within my proximity and just to share my company, or whatever it is. I have these abilities, I have these powers, and that you own them, and that you feel confident in them, and that people might look at you and say, well, you've lost the plot, you're crazy, Before we just thought you were sensitive by wanting to be present, by wanting to be still, by wanting to care, but now, like, you're really getting, so far out now, so come on now, pull yourself together. So it takes confidence, it takes courage, it takes commitment, consistency, conviction, and you know that you can because you're empowered from the self. That's where you're driven from. You know the fuel in your tank. I'm saying not just the fuel in your tank, but the soul that inspires you, that motivates you, the truth that moves you, that which guides you, that which you are a part of, that which you work with, that which you in relationship with, that supports and aids and guides and directs, and you know what the truth is, and you follow it, and you pursue it at all costs. What goodness is at all costs, because you know thyself, and thyself is ultimately about good. It's ultimately about godliness. And so with that, you're able to slay all the dragons that come your way. You're able to climb all the mountains of obstacles that appear, all the bumps in the road, all the potholes you're able to steer clear from, or steer away, or manage to get past without any troubles. You're able to weather the storms more so than others. Okay, no competition, but you're able to weather the storms. You weather to take a leap of faith. To leap because you have faith. You have a knowing. You have a knowing that even at the end of the world, that you hold on to this knowing, this idea, this potential, that it's all for the necessary, it's all for the evolution, it's all for, this transcendental time that we are in, the transmutation, the ascension, and you know it, and other people look at you and you say, what you been smoking, my boy? You've been hanging out in La La Land again, or whatever it is. Some will even say it's time for you to get back onto your meds. Far out. But you understand this. And you know it. And you hold it to be true. And it keeps you in good company. So you don't become consumed and controlled by the fear of man, and by the web that's being sown. I don't know if it's web sown, but developed, and that's catching people, the net that's catching people. So many souls on this planet. And it will continue even to go further. It'll even capture more people and become more encompassing. It'll become more consuming on most people. And they'll eventually, and they'll be not completely surrender and completely give over to it. Because they are really so deep in, they're really so committed, they are really so loyal to the live backwards, to the inauthentic, to the lie. They haven't got enough of what it takes. They haven't developed enough inner compass, inner goodness, inner truth. They don't know themselves enough. They're not connected themselves enough to find a lifeboat strategy from the sinking ship. They don't have that. They're hopelessly dependent on the system, you know. And why that is the case, it's not, again, it's just, this is, it's another talk. It's not about whether they're good or bad people, or they're right or wrong, or something or other. It's just what it is. But you recognize it, and you see it. And you don't wish harm upon anybody. You don't wish, well, you deserve it. You deserve it. You want to eat Doritos and watch, Netflix for all your free time. You want to just indulge in a life of fantasy and pleasure and escapism and narcissism and nihilism. Well, you get what you reap what you sow, buddy. We don't look. We look with compassion. We look with compassion. We look at empathy, and we say, people are hurt. People are lost. People are confused. People are somewhat damned. And in yourself, you feel so appreciative, you feel so blessed, you feel so honored, you feel so sacred, you feel so fortunate. And you give yourself a round of applause. And you give yourself a pat on the back for a job well done. For a job well done. Folks, thank you for taking the time again. We'll chat soon. Take care.